We're now at OWC's booth, and we're going to take a look at some of their new cards and SD card readers, as well as some other types of flash media. And Larry, the head of OWC, is going to show us how their new system works with their new flash media.
Well, first off, all of our media cards, just like everybody, working on everybody's readers, working on all the cameras, we list full compatibility, but what makes our ecosystem special, Innergize is enabled on all our cards today, and Innergize with Sanitize, every time you run Sanitize on the card, better than just an initialization of the card, makes that card factory fresh, whether the card has been used for a day, a year, 5 years for that matter. Every time you use Sanitize, without affecting the life of the card, it restores that card to its factory fresh performance. And that's something that makes a much bigger difference today as bit rates have gone up, garbage collection is something that's not happening on cameras, and for lack of a better term, at the bit rates and the write speeds and just the demands on these cards today, they can get dirtier faster. With our ecosystem and using Innergize, every time you run Sanitize, and without affecting the life of the card, you're restoring that card to its factory fresh full speed. And that's something really important, because a lot of cards out there, it's not necessarily that the card is failing, it's that the card has become dirty and needs to be reset. Our software allows for that reset. The other thing our software does is enables you to always know the health of your card. Knowing that your card is safe to use and still has plenty of health, has plenty of life ahead of it, is certainly something that's peace of mind when you're going into that shoot, where you don't want to be at a point of risking something you may never be able to capture again. And the other huge, really groundbreaking piece that we've brought with these cards in this ecosystem is the ability to do field firmware updates. New cameras come out with slightly different settings, or even potentially something that's unique to them that makes them incompatible with a previous generation card. Right now, you may be able to buy new cards, and you can't. This year would be a great example. 2 new cameras came out that don't work with the cards that came out last year. They work for a little while, and then they fail early. When I say they fail early, it's a false fail. With our Innergize software, the cards our customers purchased earlier this year, before these cameras even existed, they plug them into Innergize. Innergize says there's new firmware, and you're up to date. There's no guesswork in terms of there's future-proofing of our cards, which is something, a few years ago when we started to enter this space, none of this was important. Cards were, for all practical purposes, I won't say they were all the same, but there weren't these issues where we were really pushing the envelope in how much speed a card is providing, how much data a camera is demanding to write when you're doing these captures. Today, things are very fast, the demands on cards are much higher, and now this updatability, this Sanitize, and knowing the health of your card has never been more important. And we're the first company to integrate this to our ecosystem. With our card readers, 2 brand new readers. We have a dual SD reader, which has a unique feature of a cable that recesses. Right now we have two cards in the system. It'll do as many cards as you have selected. You can do all at the same time, or check and uncheck cards to do one at a time. And then it doesn't matter, we can check health, very quick to know that the card is in good shape. Right now, it takes a very long time cards last a long time, but it's very good to know that they're healthy. The next thing you can do to restore factory is this Sanitize, and it's just a quick click. It tells you, do you want to do it? Because Sanitize does eliminate all data. There is no recovering data once you sanitize, so certainly want to make sure it's after a read. And there's just a quick click, a couple seconds, a few seconds, and that card is back to factory fresh status, which means if it had any bit of slowdown whatsoever, you're now back to full speed. And that's really important. You have to do this. Right now, you do this with initializations, which kind of are a half solution. This is what brings your cards back to factory fresh, brand new condition. And then the third thing, which I can't demonstrate because these cards are up to date with firmware, is the firmware updatability, which keeps you future-proof. You don't have to worry about if you're running different cameras, if you're upgrading, if you bring different cameras into your array over the course of time. Our cards, as long as the spec is there, plug the card into Innergize, it will bring the firmware up to date, and you know it's going to work with not just what you have today, not just the firmware that's on your camera today, because future firmware for your camera may actually change the spec, but your camera, with what its future holds, as well as future cameras, our cards are upgradable for, and that's really important. Especially there could be some issue that's come out there. This keeps you in a situation where you don't have to worry about buying new cards, sending cards out for replacement. You plug them into one of our readers, run Innergize, and you're up to date. And what you can buy, we have a dual SD reader, we have a SD plus CF reader, we have a Thunderbolt/USB CF Express reader which works with everything at full speed in Thunderbolt and backwards compatible with USB 3. All of our docks, including our travel dock, also are Innergize compatible. We're really big on, it's a part of sustainability. The economic as well as the resources we all share is really important to us, that all technology is maximized. So we make sure that you can use everything you have from us, going back as far as possible, and we make sure the cards, all the solutions that we manufacture and build for you can last and have the longest lifespan possible in the workflow that you depend on.
In order for your ecosystem to work, you need your cards, your readers, and your software.
Correct, and that's not something we did to limit. It's a matter of the enablement. Nobody's done this kind of enablement before. And again, you go back even a couple years ago, it really wasn't something people were thinking about because it just wasn't necessary. Today, it really is necessary, and people are seeing what happens when cars get dirty, when firmware changes. Things are changing much more quickly now because we're capturing at rates. There's always been a want, but was there a need to have a 1700 megabyte per second capture card? Today, that's what cameras are demanding. We're pushing the bleeding edge in terms of the technology that's allowing these bit rates in these amazing new cameras. So we brought this out, and again, I want to be very clear, not to limit and block anybody else's cards. Their cards do not have the capability within them. The readers do not have the support to execute the command that will sanitize and allow us to do what we do with our cards. It's the ecosystem that we built to enable this technology. You can use our cards, again, in anybody's readers, anybody's camera. You don't have to use Innergize. And honestly, in that case, we are building what I do believe to be some of the best cards in the market, and we're equal in that case to any of the brands out there. But what steps us above every other card that's out there is this ecosystem that gives you that peace of mind on health, that gives you that sanitized feature to always have top performance, always know when you're going into a shoot, you're not going to have a problem because that card is fresh, and the firmware updatability, which is future-proofing, and again also ensures that whatever camera you're going to put that card into, right now if you go get a new card or look at a card, hey, is my card compatible with this new camera that came out? That company has probably updated their compatibility to show the new cameras because with the latest firmware that they're currently using, it's going to work with that camera. But if you have a card that was from 6 months or a year ago, it might not. If you have our card, our Atlas card, and you use Innergize, and you plug it in, you're going to have the latest firmware, so whatever we say is compatible, it is compatible. It's not a versioning thing, it's not an old card, new card, it's all the cards work, and you never have to worry about it.